When I sold Cottage Link Rental Management in 2022, we were running at 85% direct bookings. That didn't happen by accident. We'd been at it for 20 years, booking direct long before Airbnb was even a concept. For most property managers, though, direct booking remains one of the hardest things to build. Guests arrive through the OTAs, they stay, they leave, and you're left with almost nothing you can use to bring them back. That's the gap today's sponsor, StayFi, is designed to close. And I'll be telling you more about them later in the episode. This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. This is your host, Heather Bayer, and as ever, I'm super excited to be back with you once again. If you were at Scale in Brighton recently, you may well have crossed paths with my guest today. Though in his case, getting there required a last-minute flight from San Francisco, which tells you something about how seriously he takes this space. Gil Chan is the founder of Crafted Stays, a direct booking platform built specifically for short-term rental operators, and he's the host of the Booked Solid show. I had a great conversation with Gil on his podcast a little while back, and I've been meaning to get him over to this side of the microphone ever since. Brighton turned out to be the most perfect moment to invite him on and to make that happen. What I find genuinely interesting about Gil is where he sits at the intersection of direct booking strategy and AI. Most of what you hear about AI in this industry is focused on guest messaging and operations, which is understandable. But Gil is building AI into the architecture of how operators present themselves online, how their websites are built, and how they get found. It's a different conversation, and one I think is worth having in some depth. So that's what we're doing today. Direct bookings, AI-powered websites, what is actually working and where he thinks this is all heading. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So I'm super happy to have with me today Gil Chan from Crafted Stays. I was delighted to meet up with Gil in Brighton a couple of weeks ago. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's just say a big welcome to Gil to start off with.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Heather.
Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a while since I was on your podcast, so we thought we'd switch over and do this the other way around, get you on the other end of the mic instead.
Honestly, it's quite fun to be on the receiving end of a podcast, not being the host, but being the guest. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more relaxed, I would say that.
That's it. You don't have that responsibility of steering it in the right direction. You can just sit there and answer. So
That's exactly right. I know that when we do our weekly podcast, when I'm the host, I constantly have to keep notes of every single thing that we talk about so that I can then go back and refer to things, because for me, my memory is quite short term, so I can remember the last one or two notes, but going further than that and be able to stitch things together, it does take a little bit of a mental exercise. So it's definitely a lot more work on the host side.
Yeah, I know. As we're discussing, I end up with this list of things that people say, and I better write that down because I'll forget it in 2 minutes.
Exactly.
So I can come back to it. At least with AI now, when you finish, you've got a transcript that you just throw it into Claude and say, give me the summary. And I don't know about yours, but mine, I'd give it the transcript, say, give me the summary, give me the show notes, give me a LinkedIn post, give me a Facebook post, do my Substack article, and it works out perfectly.
Yeah, for the most part, we have a pretty good rhythm of things. And I think we started the podcast similar to you, actually, not as aggressive as you, but we started the podcast way before AI was really a big thing. So we had all this data about how we write and how we want things to be formatted as the outputs. So when we started using AI more, we had a pretty good source of materials to give it to you. And I think we can talk a little bit about that as like your talk in Brighton about having good sources of materials before you get into AI. But yeah, yes, we definitely do use it now, but it's not, I would say, generic stuff that we just let it do what it thinks it should do.
I know when I was feeding all my material into Claude and any other platforms I'm using, I wrote a book. Actually, you can see it. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
My book. Renting for Profit. Nobody gets to read this now because it was done in 2007 and there's a huge section on marketing. And can you imagine somebody reading that now? They're going to
You will have the Claude Cliff Notes version.
But anyway, I was doing some sorting of old stuff recently, and I found the original manuscript for that book, which I actually started in 2003. And I remember I used to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and have ideas and start writing this book.
Yeah.
And it was just this jumble of my thoughts. So I've got this really rough manuscript. I uploaded it as a source of truth about me. And it has been the best ever because that was me. It was raw. It's unedited. And it's exactly what I say and what I sound like. And and I've got that along with a whole bunch of solo podcasts where I've rambled.
Yeah. So I follow some of your stuff and I get some of your posts as well too. And it doesn't come off as the generic content. And every so often, I'm sure you probably do a little bit of cleanup now where you're like removing additional M dashes that it thinks it should include back in there.
I have a constant fight with Claude about the M dashes. You've been putting M dashes in again.
Yes. And I have mine like on the highest level system prompt level and it still ends up doing it. But it doesn't come off like, even though you may be using AI heavily, from the outside, it doesn't appear that way. But there are a lot of cases where there's one of these 8 marketing agencies that we work with. And I know for a fact that every single email that they send me has gone through AI. It's so verbose. It's so formatted. And I can send it a 1-line response or a 2-line response, and it'll come back in like multiple paragraphs. And I'm like, you need to tone the AI down.
Yeah, it takes some time. I still put me as a human in the loop and edit everything that goes out. But thank you for saying that. Anyway, Who is Gil Chan? Where do you come from? How did you get into this industry?
Yeah. So I'm a host property manager myself. My wife and I, we have a couple of properties out in Tennessee and in Missouri. We're based in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I've been in tech for the last 15, 16 years now. Been at 6 other startups, Silicon Valley startups. Most predominantly, prior to starting my company, Crafted Stays, I was in e-commerce. Mm-hmm. So I worked with some pretty big brands, Gap, Sephora, Home Depot, a lot of them on the whole post-purchase journey side of things. And then in my last gig, right before starting the company, I was at a company called Shippo, and I was working pretty closely with all the big e-commerce platforms. So Shopify, BigCommerce, Squarespace, Square, a lot of them were using a lot of our APIs. And one day, about a year after I started hosting, we met our revenue targets. We actually exceeded our revenue targets by quite a bit. And these were the golden years. But we were about 95% Airbnb. So most of our revenues were coming from the big Goliath. And we wanted to go direct. And we had the choice of either using the PMS website that comes with the PMS, or if we want anything more, we would have to hire an agency and spend $6,000 to $14,000 on a new website. And our portfolio wasn't that big, and it was quite cost prohibitive. But at the same time, I look at the industry I was in e-commerce, and if I wanted to start an e-commerce business, I wouldn't go hire a bunch of developers and have them build me a bespoke website. I would sign up for a Shopify account, I would add our products to it, and then by the middle of the afternoon, I'll have one of the highest converting websites out there. And I look back at our industry, we didn't have anything like that. So I coded the first version of Crafted Stays. I shopped it around with my mastermind peers, and they collectively convinced me to leave my W-2 and go all in. So now we've been helping hosts build really high-performing direct booking websites on a platform that we built brick by brick all by ourselves.
I love this because there's a massive gap. As you say, you've got the PMS.
Yeah.
The PMSs that offer this as an add-on. It really is. I think you mentioned somewhere you find it number 40 down in the features is, we give you a website as well. And I've been there with PMS websites. And then there's a couple of really major web developers, web builders, digital marketing specialists out there not naming those names, but you know who they are. There's two very big ones. But they are out there for the bigger companies. And I remember where we had 180 properties in Cottage Link, where we were looking for a new website, and we went to both of them and we chose one. And it was expensive. It was expensive for us with that many properties. We were upwards around $25,000 to $30,000 for starting this website. And then there was just nothing else. Where else do you get a website built unless you go and do it yourself on Wix or GoDaddy or Squarespace still a thing?
I think it is. It's less prominent here in our space. Actually, I do see a bunch of folks using Wix, Squarespace every so often, but not as much in our industry.
Yeah. So I've seen this massive gap, and I know that there are people out there who are creating websites and have done over the years, but you are coming at it from a different direction. Feels like you're coming AI first. And yeah. I love this. So you're tying in these two things. It's direct bookings and the website. Yeah. It's not just, you've got to have seen some of those websites where people build a website, they probably pay for it, and then inside it says, click here to book, and it takes them directly to their Airbnb site.
I've seen those, and I've also seen folks that will build out websites, and usually it's agencies that aren't in the vacation rental space, and they will link to, for instance, the Guesty booking engine or the HostAway booking engine, and basically they built the facade of things. I don't see too many now that are linking to Airbnb, because most of the folks that come to us are folks that are a bit more mature and they already have a PMS in place and they already know that they shouldn't be linking. But every so often I'll come across a lot of social media profiles that have Airbnb links on their social media profile. And I'm thinking like, you have a couple thousand followers, you're spending so much energy in driving your social media presence, and then you're driving it back to the marketplace. Yeah.
Which, yes, it just doesn't seem, there is no logic behind that at all. Yeah. So tell us about, what are you doing for people who want a website? What are you telling them about the way you build websites and how it can help them with their direct booking?
So we're quite a bit different than, I guess, the alternative routes of hiring an agency. Typically, if you hire an agency, you'll spend the lump sum upfront, could be in the tens of thousands, but typically they're building it on WordPress as the backbone, and then they'll have a bunch of plugins that allows them to connect it to different PMSs. But if you remember back in the day, WordPress was built for blogs. That's why and how it got its name. It was a blog platform, and it is a blog platform. And it's really good at static content. It's not so good for commerce that you're having to pull data live there. So you're having to use these third-party plugins to be that conduit there. And since we come from the e-commerce industry, both myself and a bunch of the founding engineers on the team, we've gone through several iterations of how to build e-commerce sites and platforms. And we do it a little bit differently, where we build it once and we make it available for everybody on the system. So we have several ways of working with us. A lot of smaller folks, they'll completely go self-service, where you can sign up for a Craft Estates account, you can connect your PMS, and then you can choose from a variety of different templates and connect your domain, all without ever speaking to a human. On the higher end side, if you have maybe a couple dozen properties, you might have us do the work for you. And so there's many different ways, but all in all, whenever we make a change on the platform, everybody gets access to it. In the very beginning days, for instance, Hospitable allowed you to pull reviews using their APIs. And we made one change over a week, and now everybody had all the reviews synchronizing onto their websites. And so we're constantly updating both our PMS connections, the templates that we have on there, and then nowadays, a lot more on the SEO, GEO, AEO front of things. So we made a lot of changes over the last 8-9 months or so in specifically that area there. So
tell me more about the SEO, GEO side. AEO, SEO, GEO. What do they all mean?
Yeah. So SEO is traditional search. Like when you go on Google, it stands for search engine optimization. Whenever you go to Google, and what are the results that get returned back? And what you're trying to do is make sure that you rank on page 1, page 2, or as high as you possibly can, so that people click on your website. Now, AEO is a slight alteration of that. It's the answer engine optimization. It's typically when you do a search and Google says, oh, here's your answer. And it's that little top snippet on the top of the page. You want to get cited. You want to have your answer appear there. So that's what AEO means. It's like, how do you get your answer appearing in there? And then the GEO side is when you're using ChatGPT, Perplexity, and you're doing a chat and you're then asking it for recommendations. That is what appears as the recommendations there. And that's like the holy grail. If you can get that far down and Gemini or Perplexity or ChatGPT is referring you or your business or whatever service that you're trying to promote, that's the place you want to be.
I've given you an example of this yesterday because I had just a name appeared on my calendar and never heard of it before. Somebody asking for one of my training and discovery calls. So it's just a half-hour call talking about what we do. And she was from Greece. I had, as I say, not heard from her before. And one of the first things I said to her, because she said she was looking for training in marketing. She needed to figure out how to do better marketing for her property management business. And I said, how did you find me? She said, ChatGPT. And she couldn't remember the prompt and we couldn't find it. But I wanted to know, what did you ask to actually bring me up in your ChatGPT response? So I was, that's the first time that I know it's happened to other people and it's the first time it's happened to me. It was like, yes. So just going back on the AEO bit, you only get one at the top. Is it really worth chasing that?
It depends on what
the old SEO, we used to go for the snippets. And I remember with Google getting a Google snippet once and for probably it was a cottage rental lakes or something. And I was just blown away by seeing us with that Google snippet. So how does it work with AEO and is it worth it?
Yeah, it definitely is. It depends on the business. For a lot of, for instance, we're in SaaS. We're basically solution providers there. So a lot of folks are asking for what's the best way to do something X, Y, or Z. And a lot of times, if they're going to be looking at that cited summary before they look at anything else. Mm-hmm. So yes, we still could appear in the search there, but they may never even get down that far down the page. So in our instance, if they're looking for the best way to create a direct booking website, and that's what they're putting in the search bar, we want to make sure that we are appearing in there because they may never otherwise find us if they search like over, I forget what it is, but I think it's 30-something% of traffic has gone down over last year from traditional search. And now folks using this answer summary to get what they need, they never need to click over anymore.
Yeah, I do that all the time. And I know what I'm putting in the search bar now is not, I want to go on vacation. I want to go for my winter now in St. Simon's Island. And I don't put St. Simon's Island, Georgia now. I would put, I want a vacation rental that accepts dogs that is off the beaten track in St. Simon's, Georgia. And I'm putting that in the Google search bar. And I know I put that in ChatGPT as well, but I'm finding if I just happen along Google, I'm using that same conversational approach now. And then I go straight to the whatever comes up at the top. I look for that, unless I'm looking for specifically for a website.
Yeah, and we'll probably see that change a bit more. I was at the Google I/O conference almost a month and a half back now. And they mentioned that they're releasing this whole new wave of search. They hadn't changed search in 20, 25 years there. And they're trying to be a lot more conversational where you're having chats in there. It may keep a lookout on certain terms that you're interested in and send you alerts, but they're trying to be a lot more embedded in how you go about your life. And less so the specific nodes where you have specific questions where you want to open the chat. They want to be like your go-to on that one. So they're blending a little bit of the Gemini chat capabilities and their search capabilities into a more cohesive experience. And there's still two separate teams, but the search is really leaning towards more of a conversational type of experience.
Yeah, I think I was around at the very start of Google. So I've seen all the iterations, but you're absolutely right. It has stayed much the same for a couple of decades.
If you think about it, whenever you have a chat with whatever chat client you want to use, you're having a lot more intimate details about what you're looking for. It may ask you certain things, you may respond back, you may proactively give them context. Some of the more advanced users, they may have memory in there that already knows how they look for things. And so when ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, whatever it is going out there to help you find what you need, you're giving them a lot of additional data to refine that search. And I think Google also realize that. They also power Gemini and they see whatever everybody's using or asking for, and they're trying to get that same amount of data. And they also have a lot of other data points that they can collect from, but they're trying to know more about what you're searching for so that when you do ask for something, it feels very magical to them. Oh, this is the exact one, without having you to hunt back and forth.
Yeah. But it's all magic to me, Gil. Always, and sometimes during every day, I still go, wow, did that really happen?
Google is going to do it in such a very magical and innovative way. If you look, if you're running on Gmail, they can see all your emails. If you go on websites and you're using Chrome, they know your browser history. They're already embedded into Google Analytics and Search Console. They know they're on every single website out there. So they can trace back of what you're looking for, what resonates with you, how long you stayed on a page. And if you power that with you telling it additional information, like search and really the experience of going about and understanding different things, they have really big leverage.
Yeah, amazing. Something I keep hearing in every direct booking conversation right now is that chasing the first booking away from Airbnb or Vrbo is a losing fight. That guest found you through the platform. The shift worth making, though, is this. Stop trying to win the first stay direct. Just focus on winning the second one. And that's exactly what StayFi does. It's a branded Wi-Fi system for your properties. And when a guest connects, so does everyone else in their group. StayFi captures that contact information automatically right there in the Wi-Fi login. There's no separate outreach required. From there, it handles the follow-up, the post-date emails, a return offer, a nudge around their travel anniversary, all aimed at bringing that guest back through your own site next time, commission-free. You already got them through the door. StayFi helps you keep them. Go to the show notes for more details. I want to talk about Aria.
Yeah.
Would you call it a website builder, or it's in crafted stays? What does it do?
Yeah, I would say it's like our AI persona. When we were creating, and we were working to work with the Gemini team, so we're Google-backed, we're part of the Google for Startups program. So we work pretty closely with that team. And we've been working with them on a lot of AI features. We wanted to bring AI into our ecosystem. And I would say we were late into the game. I wouldn't say we were one of the very first people using AI in hospitality or even in the website building side of vacation rentals. We were pretty methodical about it. But when I created it, I wanted to have a persona of likes. I wanted to not be a bunch of different features that are just AI enabled. I wanted to feel like this is your assistant helping you and guiding you along the way. So I made it a point to give it somewhat of a persona name there. Let's see how it goes. But the name, it's very, to me, very welcoming. And we went through many iterations. And it does have a little bit of sentimentalness to me as a founder because it's named after my daughter. So yeah, that's what Aria is. It's there to help you really make sure that you're building your website in the right way. And we're doing it in two different ways right now. Let me back up a little bit and talk about some of the problems that we saw. I think one of the big problems that we saw was that a lot of folks are now using ChatGPT, Perplexity, their chat engines to begin their search journey. We're seeing a lot less folks just going on Google and searching for things, and they're using chat as a way to plan their next vacation. And we want to make sure that our property managers that are using our platform, they have an opportunity to be inside of those chat windows. And when we looked at our platform, I think one of the biggest gaps we saw was that a lot of the content was missing there. Our customers weren't having the right headings in their sites. They weren't creating landing pages for this. And so we thought, well, how do we guide our customers through this? We do this when we white glove onboard any of our larger customers. We go through and we figure out what keywords should they be optimizing for, what type of landing pages they do. But we want to make sure that everybody had access to the same type of tools, even if they're not experts. And we also went through our process of what do we do when we onboard a white glove customer? What's the process? What do we go through? What tools are we using? So our first AI product was Sightline, powered by Aria. And what it does is it reads your entire portfolio. It reads all your properties, all your descriptions, your amenities, the locations, where they are. That's one. Two, it reads all the reviews and understands what are people saying about it, who's staying there, what do they love about it. And so that gives you like customer voice.
This is an area that particularly interests me because for many people, I think, particularly those that are getting lots of reviews coming in, they just check to make sure it's a 5-star review. Or if it's a lower one, then we'll look to see what the complaint is.
Yeah.
But if it's 5-star, that's it. Thanks, great. You've given me a 5-star review. But there's so much information embedded into some of those reviews, which is the whole sentiment analysis part of it that I think people miss. And so when I saw this on your site, I thought, wow, that is very cool. I think there was an example where it was a cabin and it was a screened porch that everybody was mentioning, this screened porch. And probably that company may not have even realized that was such a key feature for anybody going to that property. So you can probably give me plenty more examples, but I jumped on that and I thought, yeah, that's the way to go. You've got to read what's in all those reviews to find out what people do love.
Yeah, and we may get other data points down the road, but what we want to make sure is that we are getting the voice of the customer there. And I think the reviews are the best way to do it. And I think eventually we'll also read the reservation data to see how many people how many kids and versus how many adults to help shape it. We're not reading that data right now. We're not reading the reservation data yet, but that's another data point that eventually I want to roll in as well too. But it does take in all the property descriptions, how you talk about it, how you write about your properties, all the reviews, and then it will take both of those and it'll do a keyword analysis. So we do this internally whenever we do a white glove onboarding, but we will use tools like Yoast, SEMrush, Href, and for our listeners here that may not be aware of these tools, these are basically tools that marketing agencies use to figure out what keywords are worth going after, what's the demand of those, and where do you fall. So we take all of that, we understand which market this property manager is in, and we try to figure out, are there openings where there's enough demand and there's no one chasing after it? There's no high quality content on that. And you probably talk about this quite a bit, about niching down. That allows a property manager to niche down and be really thoughtful about a specific persona that they're going after, so that when they're writing content, it's really resonating with that human, but also with the robot that's behind the scenes scraping your website and servicing that to whoever may discover it down the road. So we take those three elements. We take the property information, the reviews, the third-party SEO research, and then we show that to you and we give you a summary of what we found. And then we ask you 6 questions and ask you about, like, why did you start the business? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Who your ideal guests are? What's the perfect stay? And it tries to draw out, where do you want to nudge things towards? Because we don't want AI to completely take over and build all the copy of your website. You may have started this business because these are your own vacation homes for your young kids, and you wanted to create a space that is really memorable for them. And we want to make sure that we didn't allow AI to just completely override kind of the vision and the essence of that. So it takes all of that and it builds you a Sightline report. And then it tells you, these are the keywords you should be going after. These are the personas. These are the landing pages that you should be creating. It's a very thoughtful guide on all of that.
And then it helps you build them?
So that goes into the second part of our kind of AI persona. There is, we have all the research that goes into it. And then we've been spending the last 6 months on completely rewriting our entire website creator. We usually have this drag and drop website creator. We can build out each individual page, and you'll add a section, you'll give the title and whatever you want to put in there. And we re-engineered that so AI can then create and modify those. So when you now combine an AI that can build out websites with AI that's access to all the research on it, rather than building that landing page from scratch in a different system, you can say, build me a landing page for XYZ, and it has all the context. It knows your tonality, it knows how to write, it knows who you're specific targeting towards, and it'll build out the entire page for you. And we've even made it where we plugged into Gemini Nano Banana, where it can even generate images for you as well too. And we always encourage you to use real images from your own properties there. But if you're just getting started, you want to get a sense of what are the shots that you want to include in there. We prompt the images to be created in a certain way so that you have a sense of what you want to capture if you were to hire a photographer.
Amazing. Amazing. How far things have come.
It's a lot of fun.
And I go back to 2003 and creating our first website in Dreamweaver.
Oh my gosh. I spent way too many days in that during the summers. I was rather young when Dreamweaver was around, but just piecing together every single node, every single interaction. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, but very, very time consuming. And then, of course, we went from Dreamweaver into WordPress and then into Webflow and back to WordPress. So, I know, and I see a lot of websites, and I have created a very small website recently called starwise.com with a Y, which is about dark sky locations.
Okay.
And I created that website on Lovable in a day. And
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do.
It is just amazing what you can do. And I definitely would not be recommending that somebody goes and tries to create their website in Lovable, a robust website, but it's certainly fun for the little ones. But yeah, it's just how far we've come and what AI can now do to help in that building process.
And I think that kind of goes to why we wanted to build it this way. We did see some of our more advanced users decide to vibe code their own websites. And we haven't, not a whole lot, I would say maybe 3 or 4 customers left us because they decided to build something on their own using Claude or Lovable or whatever they wanted to use. But when we looked at the website that they had created, it lacked a lot of the underlying commerce foundations that we would expect out of a good vacation rental website there. And they were using the widgets from the PMSs. They weren't tightly integrated into it. The checkout experience wasn't smooth. The mobile experience isn't good. So we're thinking, okay, if folks have the appetite to vibe code their own websites, can we do it in a way that gives them a good platform to build it on, that follows a lot of the best practices, gives them good guardrails, but allows them to build out the pages that they want to build? And that was a big impetus and kind of influence on us going down to this vibe coding route here within our platform, because we want to make sure that our customers are successful with as much information that we can provide them.
Yeah, and it allows them that flexibility and creativity is great. So it's not just a simple, you've got 6 templates and you use one or the other. Let's just segue out a little bit. I've got to ask you about Brighton, because I never did ask you about that. What caused you to jump on an aeroplane? Because you weren't intending coming to scale with AI. And it's no easy feat to go San Francisco to London.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I decided, so what was it? I think the conference was on a Tuesday. A Monday? Yeah, Tuesday. I had decided the Friday prior to go, and I had booked my flight on that Friday. And it was because I had heard about this conference, and here in the States, I didn't see a whole lot of AI-focused conferences here, which is weird. I'm starting to see them a little bit more. Maybe I'm little beta mine off where you start to see things more often when you see it once type of thing. But I hadn't seen any conferences that were focused solely on AI. And so I was really interested in it. But I didn't have that really big drive to go. But my friend John had reached out and said, hey, I have an extra ticket. One of my colleagues isn't able to join us. I'll happily give it to you. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'll take it. So he gifted me his conference pass there. And quite honestly, I spent quite a bit more on the stay and the flight and everything.
Scale conferences aren't that expensive.
They are not that expensive, but it was a big enough carrot for me to go. But also, I hadn't been to a UK conference, and I felt like I had missed out on a couple of conferences earlier this year. And I just wanted to just get myself out there again, because I had put a pause on conferences for a little while because we were focusing on this product release. And now that the product has gotten to a good place, the team was humming along, and this is like a week prior to our big launch here, I felt like, okay, maybe it's a good time to explore what's out there and just learn from everybody. And it was actually really good to see so many of my friends on stage and talking about their their specific niche on what they are passionate about talking about. So it was good to see and also gauge where folks are, because here in the States, it's a pretty bipolar. What that I'm seeing is where you have a lot of folks that are super advanced in AI, and there's a lot of folks that are just dipping their toes and they feel like they need to get an AI, but maybe they're using ChatGPT, but they're not embedding it into their everyday systems. And there's this really big divide there. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know if you're seeing the same.
I'm seeing exactly the same. Yes. Yeah, you're either out there immersed in it every single day, as I am, but I'm seeing people way beyond where I am now. But then on the other hand, you've got those that, almost head in the sand, saying, I'm really not interested in this. I'm not going to go there. And it's a bit like saying, I am not going to connect to the internet back in the 1990s.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. And I think there's no way avoiding it. It's going to happen, and you better be on that train and you better learn as fast as you can, because I think the ecosystem is going to change pretty dramatically.
Yeah, I think so. I know I spend all my time helping people at the very foundational level as building your business brain and getting all that information organized. And I know it's a small window. It is going to close over the next couple of years when everybody's going to suddenly get it, that you can't use AI unless you tell it who you are. You can't expect it to just know who you are. You've got to give it that information. So yeah, I just think it's a small window, but I think there's huge scope for us to get out there and help people, get them off on the right track to start with. So tell me, what did you come away with learning anything new from Brighton?
I learned a lot. I think I took a little bit of every single session there. And it was actually really good to see some of the stuff that I thought were really important to be really reiterated in there. Like you mentioned about building your brain before you do any type of AI work. And I probably started this about a year ago. When Claude allowed you to have this memory that you can give into every single prompt, I started to feed it a whole lot. And I realized later on that I was like overstuffing the context menu with every single conversation. But I had built, probably about a year ago, I built this 40-page document about everything in our business, our ICP, our channels that we're in, our pricing, how our product works. And the output was phenomenal when I started to feed this information in there. And I now give the same 40-something page document to every single person that joins our company so that whenever they're using AI, it's very in tune of it. And it was really good to see you reiterate that's actually a good foundation that you should have, and that everybody that's using AI in a professional capacity should be doing this as well too. I learned a lot from that last session with Graham and how he's using AI. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. That was quite awesome.
Yeah, and he's in one of the WhatsApp groups that I'm a part of, and I get to see some of the things that he's doing kind of behind the scenes. But
is that Mark's group? Mark's group? Yes, I lurk in there a lot. I rarely post, but I lurk in there a lot because it's just eye-watering, some of the things that people are doing.
If anyone is not aware of this group, but basically there's a group of a bunch of, I'll call them AI geeks, and we all have different approaches on how we do things. I'm on the more kind of like building little bits of systems and building the systems around my business. There are folks that are all in on OpenClaw and Hermes agents, and we have Graham that's doing his own AI system that he's built with 150 different tools. But it's really cool to see how everybody's approaching it very differently. And I would say there's no right or wrong way. I think the one thing that I've seen is that the folks that are constantly testing, constantly learning, constantly sharing, those are the ones that are really picking up AI and all the skills at a very rapid pace.
If I have anything to contribute here, because these folks are super bright.
I'm constantly learning. Yeah. I'm pretty deep into it myself in our system. I have a Mac Mini that's running. I'm not using any agentic harness or anything like that, but I have jobs that run on a regular basis. Before every meeting, it sends me a recap of what I should prepare for the meeting. There's a lot of things that are built specifically for my business that I just piecemeal put together.
Yeah, not there yet. I do not have a Mac Mini, and I'm having a bit of FOMO on this.
I don't know if they started bringing back the older, like smaller Mac Minis, like the $600 Mac Mini. It's now becoming available again.
I shall go take a look. Because I use Cowork, and co-work gets to do stuff for me as well. But maybe I should go take another look and get back to that WhatsApp space. And just while I'm at it, I will get some information from Mark and put that on the show notes for anybody who wants to know more about this WhatsApp group. Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Gil.
You know why I created why I bought the Mac Mini?
Go.
I wanted a always on device that I can interact with. And when I had all of my agentic systems running, it was tied to my laptop. So if I had my laptop in the car, it's not tethered to the internet, none of my processes would run. And now I communicate with it with Slack. So it messages me in Slack, I message it back. We use threads to keep track of every single conversation. And it was nice. And I even tried this with my MacBook Pro, and it worked out great. But whenever I disconnected, I couldn't communicate. My team couldn't communicate with our internal Slack, our internal AI brain. And so that's why I eventually moved over to a Mac Mini. I wanted something that was connected, had all the security protocols in place. I don't have to worry about someone breaking into it, but it just works all the time now.
Okay, just for those who are listening and thinking, what the heck is a Mac Mini? You're going to have to explain it and why you're using it, because it's a pretty simple explanation.
Yeah, it's just a Mac, but it's a Mac that's not a laptop. It's just a regular desktop device, but it's really small, so it fits on my desk quite nicely. But because it's a Mac Mini, Macs allow you to basically keep a device on at all times and run autonomously, and it runs really well. And I had previously had an Intel or a Linux-based system that did the same thing, but it just was underpowered. And so the Mac allows me to run Claude and all the different AI systems onto it. I'm not running any local models for anyone interested. I'm not doing anything like that mainly because of security protocols. I actually do prefer paying for Claude and all of the systems because they have better guardrails in place. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's basically just like always on computer.
Yeah, that's good to know. I should go back and have a look. Tell me, before we wrap this up, Gil, just general AI, outside of Crafted Stays and what you do there, what do you use on a day-to-day basis?
I would say I now never open up Claude Desktop. I don't ever use the Claude Desktop app, or even sometimes maybe the mobile app. But when I'm on my computer, I typically use Claude Code as my way to interact, and mainly because I work inside basically a project file that has so much memory about my business and can produce files. And you can do the same thing inside like the Claude desktop app, and there's a code section and there's a co-work section. It's similar to that, but I can open multiple terminal windows at the same time on specific tasks there. And whenever I need to do something, I open a new terminal, I work through the project, I save everything back in there so it continues to grow the memory there. And that's just how I do things. If I'm creating slides or creating a new deck or working on our website or working on new templates, each one of those are individual projects that I spin up. So that's typically how I run. So like right now I have 8 terminal windows open on different projects at different stages. Probably a little bit excessive, but I just found it way better for me. And I'm comfortable inside the terminal. It looks a little bit daunting, but it's just a skin on top of what you would see on a chat window. It's not that much different.
Yeah, I look at my dock here, and I've got terminal in my dock, and occasionally I go to it, and I have dabbled in code, but I use Visual Studio.
Yeah, VS Code.
VS Code, because it shows me, it looks normal. Does that make sense?
It does look a lot more normal than VS Code. But I think for me, why I do use VS Code, but I do it more if I'm working on a large project where there's a lot of coding involved and I want to see the files. But I just find if I'm working on a small thing, VS Code is quite heavy from a computation. It bogs down my machine, even though I have a pretty much maxed out MacBook Pro. So the terminal is a really lightweight way for me to do it. But yeah, VS Code is a great way. And again, for any of our listeners here that has no idea what I'm talking about, like if you use Cowork or even Claude Code inside the Claude desktop app, you have a lot of the same powers there. You're basically, you're working within a folder on your computer that it can write into, it can read all the pages as well too. And so what I like to do is like whenever I'm starting a project, I throw any contents into a specific folder. I point to it and say, I'm working within this. And as we go through it, it's able to produce HTML files for me, Markdown files for me, or whatever I need as my output.
Yeah, and for those who perhaps thinking that this has gone way over the top of their heads, you've got to look at me. Up until 6 weeks ago, I hadn't touched Claude Code. I taught myself with a few videos. I'm going to post a video, actually, in the show notes. A lady called Sabrina Romanov. Let me have a look. What's her name? Sabrina Ramanov. And she does some great explainer videos. And it's not fluff videos. They're of decent length and they teach you stuff. So if you're interested in looking at Claude Code, if you really think this has just gone right over the top of your head, then go and have a look at one of these videos, and that's really helpful. But yes, I was talking to somebody this morning saying it's like do you remember when you couldn't ride a bike or you couldn't drive a car? And it all seems so complicated, and certainly I can still remember not being able to drive a car. But now you can get into any car. I can get into any car and pretty much drive it now. And I see AI as the same thing. Once you get over that obstacle, take the training wheels off, and then it's amazing how quickly you start to assimilate new knowledge and actually understand what that new knowledge means.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fundamentals and almost steps that you get really comfortable at it, and you learn different things to help you along the ways. Like, we didn't talk about MCPs. That's actually one of my most favorite things to do with Claude and any of the systems I use is connecting it to external systems. And like, when I've discovered that was a huge unlock for me of things. But I would say get really comfortable at building your AI brain, like how you teach, and really get good at making sure that the output is good. You know what good looks like, and that's actually producing for you. And how do you get it to shape that way? And then figure out what different processes do you need to build over time. You shouldn't build everything all at once. Everything that you've learned happened over a duration of time. Everything that I've learned happened over a long duration of time. And anyone that's getting into this, as long as you have good foundations and you have the consistency of consistently using it and learning from it, and then also being attuned of what's being used outside, you can very quickly ramp up.
Yeah, and I think you said something very important there, is it is learning over time. You can't expect it to all happen at one moment. Gil, we've run out of time, and I'm truly unhappy about that, because we could talk for forever on this.
I love this topic. I love this topic.
Yeah. Can you tell I love this topic too? We will catch up again. I will maybe meet you in the WhatsApp group. If you've made it to Steve Schwab's STR AI network, get in there and start commenting. I'm going to get in touch with you because I've got a little thing to talk to you about. But yes, if you get into the STR AI network, I'll put a link on that to the show notes as well. But I will put a link onto the show notes to Crafted Stays. And I'd encourage anybody to go take a look, see what Gil's doing with Crafted Stays. Anything that you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
Not necessarily to that, but I do want to eventually get you to create a skill on Crafted Stays for you to help us craft really thoughtful About Us pages. I talked to you a little bit about that, but I think that you've nailed what you should have on those types of pages. And I think that would be a really good skill to build on our platform.
I think so. And it still blows me away, Gil. I did this at VR Nation at my presentation, and again at Scale. And that question, can you raise your hand if you're really happy with your About Us page? Less than a third of the room raise their hands. Maybe even less than that. But yes, love to. Okay. You take care. I know you've got a busy day ahead of you, and we will talk again very soon, I'm quite sure.
It was a huge pleasure, and maybe I'll see you at VRMA in person in not too long from now.
Very maybe. Yeah. Okay.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Thank you so much, Gil, for joining me for that. It really was heading off into a bit of geekdom, wasn't it? I always come away from these conversations super excited. Have you noticed that I get this excitement in my voice when we talk about AI, and the moment I get off one of these calls, it's, okay, I've got to go off and do this. So when I was talking to Gil after we'd finished recording that, and I said, okay, I got to go get a Mac Mini now, and I need you to help me set it up. And he said, why don't we do it as a podcast episode? And so Watch this space. We could have that coming before too long. But I do want to, it's Amazon Prime at the moment. I wonder if Mac Minis are on sale. I must go check them out. Okay, that's the end of this episode. And it struck me this morning that I said to you maybe a couple of months ago that we were going to start to include a few more AI episodes. And now I appreciate that we have gone almost 100% into AI. So it really is now Vacation Rental Success AI. And I am unapologetic about that. I'm really happy in this space. I hope it's helping you out. If you don't feel it's for you, I don't mind if you leave. There's loads of other podcasts out there that I'm sure will give you massive value as well. But for the foreseeable future, we are sticking with AI-related episodes and speaking to more and more people who are doing this so well and so willing to share what they're doing. Lots of stuff on the show notes today. Please go there and take a look. You'll be able to find Gil. You'll be able to find information on that WhatsApp channel, as well as the STR AI network, which is Steve Schwab's community, and a few other things as well. Thank you. Thank you for joining me again, for listening to me get geeky with lots of other people. I really appreciate you. It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.